This process, this iron triangle, if you will,
Mhm.
can be applied to almost anything, not only in business, but you can apply it to your personal life. How much time do you have when you get up in the morning to go through your morning routine, eat breakfast, take a shower, brush your teeth, get ready, and get out the door to the office? Do you want to focus on, having a great breakfast and having it at a leisurely pace? Fine. So you're going to spend your time and you're going to spend your quality there. So what are you going to do about how much that costs? And how are you going to make the decision about the rest of the task in your morning routine? You're going to have to make give and take decisions on how fast the others happen and how much quality you devote to them. And this is no different for someone deciding how they spend their morning at a high level than it is for a CEO or a C suite deciding how they want to sell and manufacture their products.
Welcome to D50 After Dark. I'm your host, Mickey Bennett. And in today's episode, we're going to have one more conversation with former Town North Division Director and current semi-retired IT guy, David Haney. And we're going to be talking about leadership triangles. What does that mean? Well, you have to watch the episode to find out. But if you're interested in leadership, and I think you are, you'll want to hear this conversation. So check it out. Today's episode is brought to you by Noo-Noo Buffet in Addison, Texas. Noo-Noo Buffet is a Chinese buffet on Beltline Road in Addison, and this place is huge. They have plenty of seating, so you'll never be waiting in line, and they're constantly replacing the food, so it's always hot and fresh. And I'm reliably told that the sesame chicken is particularly delicious. So next time you're craving Chinese food, come down to Noo-Noo Buffet in Addison, Texas, and enjoy a meal. Welcome back to D50 After Dark. And David, I've been having so much fun with these conversations we've had. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I can't believe you guys hung around to hear me talk this long.
Yeah, well, it's been a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about leadership today, and specifically leadership triangles. And I picked the enigmatic title for the episode. What do we mean by leadership triangles?
Well, for me, leadership triangles references how I look at the key elements of leadership that you have to navigate in order to be successful. There are a couple of different ones. One we've referred to as 3 pillars, and I was not the inventor of these. You'll find books on this content out there. What you're getting from me is my flavor, if you will, of this material. The 3 pillars obviously being people, process, and technology. The iron triangle of business, as I color it: cost, time, and quality.
Cost, time, and quality. Okay. So I've heard of the Iron Triangle before, maybe not with that name, but cost, time, and quality. And it's often done with like kind of a visual representation of a triangle with the different sides, cost, time, quality. And when one of the side gets bigger, the other sides have to compensate by shrinking in some way so that you can't maximize the cost or low price, time quickly done, and quality, like
Uh,
very high quality of the product or service, right? So that's the idea, right?
That is the idea. I think one of the things that you'll see if you're diving into material on the internet or you're going to seminars on the subject is that most of the presenters will talk about the fact that you can usually affect 2 of the 3 sides of a triangle like that in a positive way.
Hmm.
But you're going to pay a price at some point in the exercise. If you want to keep the cost low, you're going to have some give and take on how long it takes to produce or how good the quality is. If you're going to sell hamburgers like McDonald's does for $5, you're not going to be selling gourmet burgers. Right. Classic example.
Right. And,
The
and 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 they do them very quickly,
Exactly. So
right?
they
Cheap
can
and quick.
cheap and quick. They got 2 sides of the triangle. They had to give on something. The third side is quality. And the decision point for most business owners in the performance of their job, whether it be the product they sell, the service they offer, etc., eventually comes down to these type of decisions. You can couch it in Excel spreadsheets, you can make it a numbers game, but the reality is everything's going to come down to those three sides of that triangle. You're either going to have to push cost, you're going to have to push time, or you're going to have a give on quality if you want to make a change in your business. Now, can you have different approaches? You absolutely can. Back to our McDonald's process. Very quick, very cheap, give up on quality. Or you can choose to be Nordstrom's. We take our time. We have plenty of opportunity in terms of quality, but you're going to pay for it.
Hmm.
So this process, this iron triangle, if you will,
Hmm.
can be applied to almost anything, not only in business, but you can apply it to your personal life. How much time do you have when you get up in the morning to go through your morning routine, eat breakfast, take a shower, brush your teeth, get ready, and get out the door to the office? Do you want to focus on, having a great breakfast and having it at a leisurely pace? Fine. So you're going to spend your time and you're going to spend your quality there. So what are you going to do about how much that costs? And how are you going to make the decision about the rest of the task in your morning routine? You're going to have to make give and take decisions on how fast the others happen and how much quality you devote to them. And this is no different for someone deciding how they spend their morning at a high level than it is for a CEO or a C suite deciding how they want to sell and manufacture their products.
So, as a leader in Toastmasters, how do I apply this concept, this awareness of the realities of the costs and payoff to being a leader?
Well, I think for me, the key element was first becoming aware. I spent a lot of years getting to the point where I was focused on my job. I was going to be very good at my job. I wanted to manage people doing my job. I wanted to be the leader of a department doing my job. And then one day I woke up and was like, okay, I'm a cog in the wheel. And the realization of that cog in the wheel forced me to change my perspective from one where I was looking at work from the bottom up tactically to one looking at it top down strategically. And if your goal is to run a business, own a business, manage a business, or be part of the C suite of a large corporation or business, you're going to need to make that adjustment at some point in your future, if not right now, in terms of no longer looking at the business purely from the bottom up tactical view, but looking at it from the top down approach of a strategic view. And one of the first steps you're going to have to change your mindset on is applying every situation you're presented in business in terms of things such as the iron triangle.
Now, you mentioned the other triangle, three pillars of business: people, process, and technology. Now, that one's a little bit newer to me. So, could you elaborate on what that triangle is about?
Well, what you find once you've made a decision about a business activity you want to incur or perform, legitimately, you've decided to spend the money, you've decided to spend the time, and you've decided on a certain quality you want to maintain. Now, how do you assure that you achieve that goal? Focusing on people, process, and technology are the three key elements to making sure that you achieve the goal that you've set for yourself in the decision you made from a time cost quality analysis. People are the one most important component you have. Yes, I know we've talked in previous interviews here in podcasts about AI, but remember, AI is a tool that makes people better if it's used properly. It's not a tool that replaces people. And people who try to use AI to replace people are making a big mistake. The challenge you've got is getting your people to focus, having them understand what the goal is, setting the parameters for what quality looks like, then building processes that enhance that strategy, focus on that quality, guardrail getting out of line with the direction. And you use technology to help you do that with those processes that are going to be executed by your people. So, all of the key elements of where you want people to go once you've made a decision of the journey come from a controlled and focused effort to take process augmented by technology in the right way to give your people the ability to succeed.
So in the example of a hybrid meeting,
Mhm.
the people are the members who are attending your meeting. The process is your agenda and how your club members have decided they're going to run a hybrid meeting.
And the
And then the
technology,
technology are the cameras and the laptops.
absolutely. So, can you run an effective meeting without hybrid, without the technology? The answer is you absolutely can. And for almost 100 years, Toastmasters succeeded in doing that. All
True.
right. So, what the addition of the technology to the process of having a Toastmasters meeting, what does that technology do? It opens the door for other methods of people to be successful. People can be online. They can participate away from the in person meeting and still achieve the goal of participation in Toastmasters, watching people and learning from them in terms of their speaking abilities. And then when it comes their time, augmenting their learning by the participation technology offered in the process.
Yeah. Well, I would just to wax intellectual about this idea, I would argue that even in the meetings we had in the first 100 years of Toastmasters, there's still technology.
Mhm.
We have chairs and tables. We have maybe a lectern,
Mhm.
possibly microphone and speakers if it's a large room. So it's just a lower level and less prominent or obvious role of the technology. There's always technology in any human endeavor, I would argue.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely true. And let's take what you just said and take it to its next logical step. The current step we have of artificial intelligence. How can you take that technology and augment the fact that we want to improve our process in order to achieve a better learning environment for our people? Artificial intelligence presents us a wonderful opportunity to augment speech writing, content information, the ability we've discussed in a previous podcast regarding helping the volunteers and the officers of a club do the function of that officer's role more efficiently. It's just steps along the journey. As you very rightly said, technology has always existed. It's just one more step that makes the technology a little better. The process has already always existed. We simply modify the process to take advantage of the technology. Once we have the technology to take advantage of, and we've modified the process to get the most out of it, that presents us the best opportunity for our people to adapt to it and benefit from it. And that's how the three pillars of people, process, and technology fit together. And it can be something, as you pointed out, as simple as a pencil and a piece of paper properly utilized for the learning and the betterment of the people, or it can be all the way to today with artificial intelligence and the ability to be fed ideas that you can then turn into benefit for the people through our process at Toastmasters International.
Now, can you give me an example, in your experience as a leader? Has there been a time when you've used one of these leadership triangles in your leadership? Like, yeah, like an example of how you used this way of thinking about leadership to improve an outcome?
Well, I think I'm probably going to close the circle here with you. We've had a number of podcasts where we talk about, my past history, the hybrid model of having a meeting in Toastmasters. And we talked about artificial intelligence as a subject. And I think here is a wonderful way to close this out. The technology of hybrid opened the door to changing the process of how we conduct a meeting at MetroCrest to allow more people to join from different walks of life, different places on the planet, different time zones, so that the people who are already here increase the benefit they gain from the exercise. Our process allows us to think about new strategies
Mhm.
for how we can improve the quality of the education we provide these people, all benefited from the change in technology to add hybrid to the delivery model.
Mm.
And now you throw artificial intelligence on top of that. Once again, we are at a crossroads, I think, right now in what we should expect going forward from the Toastmasters experience. The process can be augmented by AI. It should not be replaced, but it can greatly augment what we can do. And some of the functions that people have to perform manually have the ability in the near future to be replaced procedurally by the technology of artificial intelligence. Not to replace what they're doing, but to take the labor out of doing it so they can spend more time thinking about how to do it better. And that's a key piece of how going to a hybrid model for your meeting expands the people you can reach. Going to artificial intelligence can expand the performance of the job that people that are already there do so that they can be more efficient and think of better ways in order to do it. And I see Toastmasters International and all the clubs having the ability to grab this technology, think about how it can change how their club functions in the process so that the people of their club can benefit and move forward, not just here at an individual club like MetroCrest, not just in District 50, but in the whole of Toastmasters worldwide.
Hmm. Very cool. Very cool. I was as you were describing that, I thought of an example in my own experience of how the three pillars of business applied. A long time ago, I had a club and we wanted to use it was either FreeToastHost or Easy Speak. I can't remember, and I can't remember because the club officer said, "Hey, go to this website, sign in. We're going to use this for our schedules." And I went to the website. I was unable to sign in. I got frustrated and gave up. I think what happened is you can't just throw technology into a situation
There you go.
and expect things to improve. You have to
Mhm.
keep in mind the process and how the process has to adapt to the new technology. You have to keep in mind the people and are they set up to powerfully use the new process with the new technology. Many years later in my home club, the officers wanted to use FreeToastHost and replace what we had been doing with spreadsheets to make the agenda. And they took the time to design the agendas in FreeToastHost, to demonstrate using it to the club multiple times, to help individual members in using the website. And it took time to prepare the people to use the new process that implemented this technology. It was a holistic approach using the three pillars of business.
Mm-hmm. And it applies to something as simple as improving the quality of your Toastmasters meeting or making a $50 billion decision to implement AI in a large enterprise corporation. The underlying theory is the same. The question is usually execution.
Yeah.
People, process, technology, how you execute. Time, cost, and quality, how you decide. Make a decision, execute.
Very cool. Well, David, it's been such a pleasure having these conversations with you. I've really enjoyed our talks. Do you have any parting words for our listeners? Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Oh my. If I'll use this as an opportunity as summate. If you have an opportunity to work with your club to go hybrid, I recommend you give that some thought. Why? It does not detract from the learning opportunity and it expands the number of people that can participate in that learning opportunity in your club. All benefit, very little, if any, detriment.
Hmm.
Also, when it comes to AI, the utilization of AI as a tool in your hand to help people think of ideas on writing speeches, come up with table topics that they need to deliver in their table topics process. Even the idea of putting an evaluation idea into the AI and having it come back with possible better ways to say what you already want to say. AI can benefit you in terms of the quality improvement if you use it as a tool. If you tell it to do your job for you, you may not get what you want, but telling it to take your work and provide feedback to you might be a great opportunity. Consider the AI, consider hybrid, use the technology and adapt, because there's already tools out there that are going to do it. We already talked about reports, tm.com, reports with an S, and we already talked in another meeting about the clubschedule.com, both tools that are being built with AI to use AI for the benefit of District 50 and around the world, potentially. And in summary, we live in an exciting time. Very rarely are we presented in our lifetimes the opportunity for so much change so quickly at what to us is a relatively low cost. That iron triangle piece, the combination of hybrid and alignment and AI, presents us that opportunity to make real change in how we move Toastmasters forward as an organization. I challenge you to do it. I challenge you to give it a try. And thank you, Mickey, for the opportunity to speak here today.
It's been my pleasure. David Haney, till next time.
Much obliged.
And to our listeners, thank you very much for joining us in these conversations. Stay tuned for our next episodes. We have another guest, Krishna Ravalapalli. I'm very excited to speak to him. He's new to Toastmasters, so we will hear about the new members' perspective with our next guest. Good night, and see you next time.